Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to Red, White, and Bills. Appreciate you guys tuning in. I'm your host, as always, Sean Kula. And before I get into it, I got a little announcement. As you guys all know, Nickel City Mafia and Brett from Go Bills Podcast, me and Brett, starting maybe next week, will be doing a new segment for their show once a week. And we haven't picked a day, I don't think, and topics. We haven't picked that either, but we're going to be starting a segment over at Nickel City Mafia called Red, White, and Ruthless. And it'll be fun. So head on over to Nickel City Mafia, Go Bills Podcast, subscribe, come check us out when we start next week. So we got a game against the Pittsburgh Steelers today, and I was starting to think, this is going to be a wonderful test for the O-line. On paper, got a lot better from last season. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to look at least 3 seasons, if they have 3 seasons, and look if people have improved or just what their overall stats were. And then we can kind of gauge what should we expect from the O-line this year. I always see a lot of people dogging them. I think it's just like the common thing for everyone to always dog their offensive line. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that we're going to be a top 10 unit, top 5 unit. But this unit, if certain things go certain ways, we have the potential to be a pretty decent unit, especially a hell of a lot better from last year. But we're going to start from left to right. And, of course, Big Schno, Deion Dawkins, 2020. He only had 4 flags, gave up 6 sacks, a 78 overall PFF rating, 74.7 pass blocking, 73.9 run blocking, also allowed 4 hits, 33 pressures. I'm going to go to the 3 years, and then we'll talk about them. 2021, 10 penalties, 4 sacks allowed, 77.5 PFF, 81.6 pass blocking, 67.5 run blocking, 6 quarterback hits, 25 pressures. And then last season, 2022, 12 penalties. So there's been an increase in penalties since the last 3 years. 3 sacks allowed, 73 PFF overall, 80 pass blocking, 62.3 run blocking, 2 hits, and 30 pressures. The pressures, for your left tackle, who's also not a terrible left tackle. He really could be a top 10 left tackle in this league, but there's some things that have regressed and some things that have stayed the same. Some things got better with Deion. Obviously, the flags is a extreme red flag right off the bat, 4, 10 to 12. And 12 flags is a lot, especially, from your franchise left tackle. 3 sacks, 6 sacks, 4 sacks, 3 sacks. He's been going down with sacks. And then up, down, and back up with pressures. Quarterback hits aren't that bad. And then his overall PFF grade has been, fluctuating. And the pass blocking got up pretty high. And then, it dipped a small percentage last year. I'm not too worried about Deion. I love Deion Dawkins. I love how he plays. I love his footwork. I love his anchor. I love his athletic ability at the tackle position. And I think once we start talking about this next guy, it'll have Deion have a bounce back year, because playing next to Roger Saffold, it's kind of hard to play your best game of football, if I'm being honest. No disrespect to Saffold, though. Connor McGovern, Dallas Cowboys. So, when I was thinking about the McGovern signing, you kind of think like, well, if Dallas really thought he was great, they would have kept him, because Dallas, Jerry Jones is great with O-line. And but then you look at his stats, and he also actually did pretty well. So there was a reason that Dallas Cowboys wanted him. 2020, 1 penalty, 61.7 overall PFF, 58 pass blocking, 61.3 run blocking, 2 hits, 16 pressures. So that's not too bad at all. 2021, 2 flags, 1 sack given up, 68.7 PFF, 69.2 pass blocking, 66.1 run blocking, 3 hits, 16 pressures. So pretty consistent with the pressures, 16 both years. His overall PFF, his pass blocking and run blocking all increased, and he had one more flag. What are you going to do about it? In 2022, 1 flag, 2 sacks, 52.2 PFF score, 74.8 pass blocking, 42.7 run blocking, 7 hits, 22 pressures. So, again, that's one of those other ones where regressed a little bit in certain aspects and then improved a lot in others. So pass blocking took a significant leap And, again, in the pass blocking offense like ours, it's very important. His run blocking took a hit, but again, it was a weird year for the Dallas O-line, so I'm not going to put too much stock into that. And then his pressure still remained pretty low, only 2 sacks allowed, and then 7 quarterback hits, which is kind of high. But also, when you compare that to Saffold last year, this would have been a 100% increase in production. But again, I'm very hopeful for the left side of the offensive line. And as we go into Mitch Morse is the kind of guy where very consistent, as you'll see with the stats I'm about to read off to you. And again, just leader personified, pro's pro, and a true leader of the offensive line. So he's a wonderful weapon to have. 2020, 6 flags, 1 sack, 65.8 PFF score, 71.6 pass blocking, 63.8 run blocking, 1 hit, 19 pressures. And again, this is all courtesy of PFF. Use with that what you may. I know some people aren't big on analytics, but analytics is important to a point, as well as situations and games and things like that. It's not all about analytics, but analytics are a tool that we can use. And then if you like, some people don't like them because they don't fit their narratives, but this is what we have to go off of, and I'll use it as part of my evaluation for players. 2021, he had 2 flags, 1 sack. Again, pretty consistent. 68.7 PFF score, 69.2 pass blocking, 66.1 run blocking, 3 hits, 16 pressures. Oh, excuse me. I was reading McGovern stats again off to you. Back to Morse. It's been a long day. 2021, 5 flags, 2 sacks, 63.4 PFF score, 69.9 pass blocking, 60.0 run blocking, 2 hits, 25 pressures. 2022, 3 flags, 3 sacks, 61.4 PFF score, 67.1 pass blocking, 57.3 run blocking, 2 hits, 17 pressures. So again, consistent all across the board for the last 3 years. He's a general of the offensive line. He's a guy that you're very comfortable with at the line of scrimmage, calling out blitzes, and just overall shifts on the offensive line. Now as we get to the right side of the offensive line. So just looking at those 3, you feel pretty confident. They're all decent players. They're all up to, pretty good players with decent ceilings. Connor McGovern hasn't reached a ceiling yet. Mitch is what he is. He's slept on as a center, but as he's getting up in age and younger guys are superseding him, he's still a top 10 center in this league. And again, Deion Dawkins has top 10 tackle potential, and Connor McGovern's ceiling hasn't been achieved yet, in my opinion. But then we got 2 young guys at the right side, starting with the guy that I loved in the pre-draft process and who I love still to this day, Cyborg, Osiris Torrance, a man amongst men. And I took his college stats. I mean, I know college isn't the NFL. I'm just using it as a reference point of what we could hope to expect this coming season. In 2020, he was 74 PFF score, 74.7 run blocking, 89.0 pass blocking, 0 sacks, 0 hits, 2 hurries, 2 pressures. I know it's college, but that's extremely hard to do. I know it's a college level, but that's pretty insane. And again, this wasn't at Florida, but 2021, 88.2 PFF score, 89.4 run blocking. So his run blocking increased significantly. 84.8 pass blocking, which is a slight decrease, but still in the elite level, because according to PFF, 0 sacks, of course, 4 hurries, 5 pressures. 2022 in Florida, 0 sacks, 0 hits, 8 hurries, 8 pressures, 88 overall PFF score, 89.9 run blocking, and 76.0 pass blocking, which decreased again in that final year. So when you look at all that, again, I know it's college and NFL is 100% different than college, but that's a lot of great quality starts, games, career in a college level. And then, a lot of people, I don't know what they were seeing, but from what I've seen from camp videos and from people that I know that posted about it, he did a pretty solid job in camp and has done nothing to worry me that he can't win this job and shouldn't be playing. A lot of people out there, other people are mentioning how they're more comfortable with Bates out there, and Torrance has gotten beat a few times in practice. Well, people get beat every position. Josh throws a pick. Are we gonna be worried about Josh playing in the NFL? No. Gabe Davis drops a ton of balls last year, and now everyone, is very high on him because again, he had a great camp and he's a great player. But we don't kick him off the team or not start him because he has drop issues. But Torrance, I feel like people are scared to embrace the skill level that he has. He has an extremely high ceiling and extremely high floor. And I'd love to get this guy out here, start week one. We know what Bates is. Bates is a master, a jack of all trades, master of none, very medium floor, medium ceiling. He is what he is. He's okay. He's never going to be better than okay at anything. And his best position to me is center, but he won't be playing center this year unless Mitch Morse gets hurt. And God willing, that doesn't happen. Not that I hate Bates or anything, but you have to look. You draft him in the second round. He has a great resume. He's been great with the locker room. Everybody talks very highly of him. He's made some exceptionary plays. He's played well in his preseason game so far. We'll see what he does today against Pittsburgh. But I just don't. It's silly to me the worry about Torrance. And I have a feeling if he week one he's starting and Quinn Williams gets by him one time, everyone's going to be like, I told you Bates should be starting. But if Bates did start, he would be out by the first quarter against the Jets anyway because Quinn Williams would be eating his lunch. And it's part of improving as a player. He's got the raw potential. He's got all the skill set you need. He just needs to get out there now and execute. And don't expect him to be 99 PFF score across the board and everything. He's going to make mistakes and, hopefully minimal, but everybody makes mistakes. Speaking of mistakes, we're going to go to right tackle, who friends have told me, give him that full off season before you make your final judgment, and I'll respect that, and that's what I will do. I will be hard on every single player, though. I love this team. I'm harsh on them because I love this team and I want the best. I know whatever I say doesn't really mean anything to them, but that's how I fan. I respect how everybody fans, and how I fan and may come off as a little harsh, but things need to be talked about. It's not always sunshine and rainbows, like Rocky says. It's not, we're not rah-rahville over here where everything's perfect. Things need to be talked about. Spencer Brown has been putrid for the last 2 years, and people like to pin it on injuries and that he's raw. But again, as far as his injury goes last season, when you choose to play, you ultimately have to assume all risk or success with what that comes with it. So he knew he just came off a big back surgery and he might not be 100%. He didn't have an off season. He didn't work with Cromer. He knew that going into the season. He chose to play. He played and did absolutely awful. And I know I commend him for playing with with not being 100%. But you could even ruin your own career doing that, let alone the team, which he did quite often. But I definitely think that he can make the leap this year. Of course, I'm going to be hard on all the players, like even Torrance. I love Torrance, but he still has to go out there in an NFL game and not just preseason and prove to be the guy that I think he is. But Brown, I still got that little bit of hope that he can achieve what everyone expects of him. But I'm not going to be surprised if he doesn't. And I just think the potential is there, and he could slightly, even just 5% better than last season. It'll help this O-line tremendously, and we'll get into his stats. And I took his 2 NFL years. I didn't bother going back to college anyway. But 2021 rookie year, 8 flags, 1 sack, 62.6 PFF score, 51 pass blocking, 76 run blocking, 5 hits, 30 pressures. So you think that's not too bad? I'll give him that. Pretty solid for a rookie. I still think Cody Ford had a better rookie season, but for being the raw talent he was, I'll say that's decent. And then last year, again, he was injured, so everybody uses that, why he was bad. But 6 penalties, 4 sacks, 51.4 PFF score, 49.4 pass blocking, which I could probably do, 53.7 run blocking. So you went from 76 in your best attribute to 53 in the next year. 9 hits and 42 pressures, and mind you, he did not play the whole season. So, that's not good at all. I don't want to hear about injuries. When you choose to play, like Josh chose to play. He might not have been 100% healthy, and he had to take everything that came with it. He didn't look as good as he usually is during that little course of the few weeks with his injury, and he assumed the risk, and he still won us games and played well to a point. He didn't play how he was playing before the injury, but that's what happens. You assume the risk, and Brown assumed he bet on himself and he failed. But now He has a whole offseason, like everybody mentions, and I'll give that to him. And I want him to succeed. I want to be wrong, but I'm going to use my own evaluation of people and players and things that I see, my facts, my truth, and I will stand by it. And then I want him to prove me wrong. So I want to come up here by week 4. I'll give him a couple weeks, no, maybe week 3. By week 3, I want to come up here and say, I was wrong about Spencer Brown. I'm so glad he finally turned it around 3 years later. And, you know, I pick out all these players. I don't just throw favoritism out there. There's always good things to say and bad things to say. And Brown has shown glimpses, whether they're many or, very scarce. But again, he can do this. I do believe that he can turn the page. I believe this whole line can turn the page. So a lot of people are in fear. I've seen a lot of people out there. They're commenting on other people's shows. I'm so nervous to have Josh behind this offensive line. Well, here's the thing. Yeah, Pittsburgh is fantastic. But we play the AFC East, the NFC East, 6 games, and then 4 games. That's 10 games alone with phenomenal defense, phenomenal defensive fronts. If you're worried about Pittsburgh, how you expect us to go win a Super Bowl? You got to trust that this offensive line can turn the page and fight. They need to be battle tested and battle ready. Because if you're just like, oh, I'm scared about them playing in the preseason game to protect Josh, I don't know how we're going to be. You got to have a little bit of faith, and that they haven't shown anything yet to make you worried. So give them the opportunity to prove or to not prove who they are. And again, continuity is huge. So you're bringing in McGovern, you're bringing in Torrance. So it's different. Yeah, you got Dion, Mitch, and Spencer Brown, but as a unit, it's all fresh to them. So give them some time to ease into everything. That's why I said week 3, and I think this will be the best year of offensive line under McDermott and Bean, as well as in Josh Allen's career. But thank you guys for tuning in. If you stayed for the whole video, make sure you like, subscribe to the channel. And again, check out Nickel City Mafia and Go Bills Podcast. Subscribe to them and be on the lookout for me and Brett's weekly show for Nickel City Mafia. I think maybe Saturday, I think Brett was saying. On Saturdays, I think we might start next Saturday. We'll probably talk about the game, the upcoming game, things of that nature, or just buzz around the NFL. That's all stuff to be figured out. But again, thank you for tuning in. Let's get this dub today. Let's see a lot of great stuff from the team. Go Bills. See you next time.